Coming into the NBA season, the Milwaukee Bucks were seen as the favorites in the Eastern Conference. However, just flash forward a couple months later, and they are currently sitting at the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. While that's not the worst thing in the world for most teams, the Bucks have been struggling very heavily as of lately. And the main reason why they've been struggling is Damian Lillard. Something is going on with Damian Lillard, and a lot of people are very confused on what has happened to this man. At one point, he was one of the best scorers in the NBA, and when Milwaukee was able to trade for him in the offseason, it made it seem like the Bucks were going to dominate the following season. And again, I'm not saying the Bucks as a team are completely bad. They're still the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference for a reason. They're still doing their thing every now and then. But if you look at certain things within this team, you can realize that come playoff time, this might lead to another early playoff exit. And the main topic of this video I want to discuss is Damian Lillard. Lillard has been struggling at a very weird time of the season. I remember earlier in the year he was struggling, but I feel like that's normal for a lot of shooters, especially when they're on brand new teams. And there were a lot of reasons why we justified how Damian Lillard was playing. In the month of December, he averaged about 26 points per game while shooting 47, 43, and 92 for his shooting splits, which is not too bad for Damian Lillard. However, his stats this year have definitely gone down. And if we look at the start of 2024, when we entered a brand new year, things get even worse because Lillard is averaging almost 23 points per game while shooting 40, 29, and 92 splits. Now, for context of how bad that is, number one, we all know Damian Lillard has always been a good shooter, so you can clearly tell how bad this is, but also it makes him the 10th worst shooter on the team, which is absolutely insane. This is a guy that was supposed to elevate the Bucks 3-point shooting and was overall supposed to make the offense go from great to elite. However, their offense has been struggling, and Lillard is one of the main reasons because of this. Now you might be asking, why has Lillard been struggling this bad? Well, I think there are a couple reasons why, and I think every reason I have is pretty valid. I think the first thing we have to start with is a simple concept. It's that Lillard is on a brand new team, and on that team he has a brand new dynamic duo in Giannis Antetokounmpo. And yeah, I know we're almost at the All-Star break, it's literally this week, but still, I think this is still a pretty valid reason. The thing about having a duo is usually we'll see duos of a guard and another guard, or a guard and a forward, but a duo with a really good guard and a really good big man, that can get very interesting. For example, let's say James Harden and Joel Embiid when they were on the Sixers together. That pick and roll duo is statistically supposed to be very nasty. And while Joel Embiid was a great offensive player, the thing with Harden was he was becoming more of a playmaker than a scorer. But in this case, you have two players that are very good at scoring the basketball. Now, while Giannis is good at almost everything except shooting the ball and not trying to be horny in just about every single post-game interview he's ever done, Lillard has always been known to be a great shooter and even a great playmaker at times. So when I see Giannis doing his normal thing on the offensive side, dominating the paint and basically doing a carry job, I say, that's pretty normal. Impressive, but that's the status quo. But when I see Damian Lillard shooting 29% from 3 and missing wide open shots, I'm a little concerned. And it makes sense why the Bucks offense is starting to struggle, especially when these two players are the key to the offense. And while one player is holding his side of what he has to do, the other is not. So again, while I want to be like, oh, it's a brand new team, it's a new duo, I still do think they're at the point where they should be adjusted. But on the contrary, another thing we could talk about is bringing in a brand new coach mid-season, which by the way, doesn't just fuck with Dame and Giannis. This fucks with the entire team and what's going on. Now, I don't think I've ever talked about the Adrian Griffin firing on this channel, but I'm just gonna say this real quick. While yes, I don't think he was the right man for the job, I don't think he should have been the coach in the first place, and I knew eventually he was gonna get fired, you really did it mid-season? I know a lot of people question the firing, but I think Legend Winning said it best. The only reason we're saying this is because of the timing of this, which to be fair, should we not be surprised? At that point, the Bucks, I believe, were either 2nd or still 3rd in the Eastern Conference. They were still a great team and it seemed like everything was going okay. While there were rumors that Adrian Griffin had already lost the locker room, I feel like this only made things worse because the guy you brought in was Doc fucking Rivers. I am not going to praise Doc Rivers, don't even think I was going to do it for a sec, but I do think it's kind of unfair to Doc Rivers the way you brought him in. You brought him in the middle of the season with a team that is just going through a little slump, and now I think they've added to the slump because ever since that firing, the Bucks have been struggling and dropping games they should have won. And I know there have been other reasons why they've been struggling. They've been dealing with injuries, but still, when you bring in a brand new coach, it fucks with everything, especially when this coach is honestly not right for the job. And now, even after the team as a whole completely changing, I still feel like there's another reason we can discuss. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be talking about this for a very short period of time because this is none of my business. But we are talking talking about possible reasons why he's been struggling, and I think mental health is something you need to focus on. And I won't lie, and I've never been through this, but going through a divorce, I can imagine can fuck with you mentally. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's just a divorce, he has to play through it. And yes, I do think he has to play through it, but most of y'all have never been through a divorce. Most of y'all don't understand how bad it is. Like, I don't know how many of y'all are in a relationship right now, but imagine going through a breakup. I feel like a divorce is like 10 times that, especially when there are kids involved, especially when you've been with that person for a long time. And I know the divorce happened a while back, but still, it's still pretty fresh on his mind, I can imagine. Now, I'm not going to talk about the details because truth be told, I don't know exactly what happened in the relationship and I don't care to know. But from a basketball standpoint, I do think this is one of the reasons why he's been struggling. Because not even just as a basketball player, but in any profession you're in, if you are not in the right mental space, you are not going to perform at the same level you should. Hell, I'm no fucking athlete, but when I struggle mentally, it is impossible for me to want to make videos. And I know what the comment section is probably going to say about this. Oh, well, divorce this, divorce that. Look, I've never been through it. I'm 19 years old. I can barely hold a fucking relationship. But I can imagine separating from your wife like that can definitely fuck with you mentally. Now, let's transition to something else because I don't want to keep talking about this. But first, gentlemen, if you guys are enjoying the video, make sure y'all leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. I have an announcement that I'm going to be making and it's going to be within the next week or two. Just know on March 1st, I have something planned, a very big project I've been working on behind the scenes. Also, I have a video essay coming out either this week or next week. The editor is currently working on it right now. It's going to be one of the best videos this channel has ever dropped. Anyways, boys, back to the video. I think it would be dumb for us not to think that age doesn't have something to do with this. Damian Lillard is at the age of 33 years old right now, and it is not the norm for players to be almost 40 and still dominating. I know LeBron has made it look easy, but I think we all know he is one crazy of a specimen. That or this man is taking PED. Yo, who the fuck is knocking on my door? Clutch Sports is at my door. Nice. But all jokes aside, it's not normal for players to play this long, and at the age of 33, this is the point where I expect Dame to start struggling. But what's interesting to me is I would have thought stuff like his explosiveness and his playmaking would have gotten worse with age, not necessarily his shooting, because we've seen a lot of players that get old over time and they still keep that one factor that made him great, which is shooting. For example, like a Kyle Korver or even a guy like Ray Allen. Throughout their entire career, they've always stayed a good shooter. And look, Damian Lillard is obviously better than both of those players, but Lillard's shooting, I don't know, I just thought it was something he would always be good at. Now, this again could be a shooting slump, or this could be the normal for Dame. We could see him go from a guy that can average somewhere in the mid 30s to even 40% at some point, to now a guy who can barely get to like 33%. Now, the last and final thing I think could probably be the most legitimate out of everything we've seen, because we've seen Dame be good this year. Like, if a player was getting older, I feel like throughout the entire season they would consistently be dropping. But Lillard, he's had his up and downs this year. So I think mixing all these together along with this final reason could really be the deciding factor of what's going on with Dame. If you guys did not know, Damian Lillard is currently dealing with an ankle injury right now. According to an article, it said that he injured it in a game versus the Utah Jazz on February 4th, where he was definitely struggling in that game. He would miss 3 consecutive games, and in the past 3 games, he's continued to struggle. I'm not saying this is the reason why, but it's definitely not helping him at all. In the end, I feel like if you combine all these reasons together, you could really come to any conclusion you want to. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm overreacting, because my boy Young Mustard, he made a video about this 2 months ago, and I looked at the comment section and a lot of people were saying, oh, you're gonna be wrong, or oh, look, he just had this crazy game. But if Lillard continues to struggle up until the playoffs, I'm not sure how the Bucks are going to do. The Bucks are relying on guys like Dame and Giannis to carry them to the playoffs, and the way it seems right now, we could be in for another first round exit by the Bucks, and this time I think there are going to be a lot more consequences ahead of us.